everyone, it's Jameson. Much like our previous episode, Kaz and I are in self-isolation and recorded our own tracks for this episode from our homes, and then spliced them together, so if it sounds a little odd, that's why. I'd also like to point out that once we had finished recording our episode, I realized too late that I had been recording myself with a really hot microphone. I did my best to salvage the track, but it wasn't a perfect fix, so you'll still hear the occasional pop and clipping sound coming from my end. So I'm sorry for that, won't happen again, and please bear with it because I think this is a really funny episode. Anyway, on with the show.
An irresponsible college student drives the children she's nannying over the Mexican border without telling their parents, and leaves them to wander around on their own and be chased by a maniac with a meat cleaver. Oh, and one of the kids is turned into an animal thanks to some magic, xenophobic crystal bullshit. We watched My Brother the Pig, today on...
The f*** is this?
Hello, however you wish to self-identify, and welcome back to The Fuck Is This, where we dive through DVD bins, sort through streaming apps to find the weird, the bizarre, and the unloved.
All from the comfort of our own homes.
Yes! I'm your host, Kaz Lesgard, and joining me from the fort that he has built out of Kleenex boxes and jars of urine is my co-host, Jameson Rafter.
Oh, geez, thanks for that, Kaz. I mean, I know I'm growing like a really gnarly quarantine beard here, but like I don't think I've devolved into that level of filth yet. I will say, like having like just catching myself in the mirror, like I've lost weight, like I've kind of neglected showering for a couple of days because I'm just living on my own here now, letting the beard grow out. Like I look like if I shouldn't be using meth, I should at least be cooking meth these days.
It's that rockin' mullet that you got going on right now.
I know. I was entertaining the idea of like, oh, I wonder if I should cut my hair, get myself a nice breezy, like, summer cut. And now I can't.
I don't know how you've managed to lose weight. I've easily put on 5 pounds since this whole self-isolation thing has gone on.
I'm rationing my food, man. Like, I'm limiting myself to, like, maybe 2 meals a day. I'm still, like ordering all these, like, stuff for veggies and salads and stuff, so I'm, like, making a point. Like, I always have, like, a salad a day. But now that counts as, like, one of my 2 meals. Yeah, and I also haven't bought any alcohol since this all started. You know, like you just got to save money somewhere and like make some sacrifices.
Cool. Hey, you know what I'm sick of talking about?
The
fucking coronavirus. Let's do a podcast. Where we fucking talk about.
Let's brighten our mood here.
That's right. Yeah. So what movie are we watching today, Jameson?
What did I say to you when we were going through that list? You said like, "What do you have anything in mind?" And I was like, nothing with rape in it. we tend to have gone down that rabbit hole a little too much lately.
Have we?
More than I'm comfortable with.
Was it? I thought it was just the last movie that it was like a roaring.
We out here had like that one scene. Coward of the County was all about it. Eventually,
oh my God.
You know, with like the allusions to Squirrel Murphy and his.
Okay, yes. We've done
more than I'd like our podcast to be. Like, let's kind of steer the ship away from that right now because I want my parents to listen to the show sometimes.
All right, this is one for Jameson's folks. So, what rape-free movie are we watching today?
Well, I hope that we're gonna find that in the.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. Anyway,
in the 1995 movie, My Brother the Pig.
That sounds stupid.
It does sound stupid.
Well, before we get into My Brother the Pig and we find out what that's all about, we have just enough time really quickly for our only reoccurring segment. Probably should have mentioned that.
Probably should have mentioned that,
Oh, that sounded awful coming through my PC speakers just now.
You won't like the next couple of things that I'm about to do then.
Oh, lovely.
So yeah, there are 2 things that I wanted to mention about the last movie that we covered on the show, Coward of the County. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is I've discovered the origin of the villainous Gatlin boys. In particular, where that name came from.
Oh, so like this wasn't just like taken from like the Kenny Rogers song that he like sat down and wrote out. This is actually based on a true story?
Not based on a true story, no, but the name Gatlin was apparently cribbed from Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers, who are another popular country group known for songs like Houston, parentheses, means I'm one day closer to you, and talking to the moon. I have no idea. Someone out there is all like, the Gatlin brother! I love him!
Certainly not Kenny Rogers. Sounds like he had an axe to grind.
Yeah, this is a pretty good story. Larry Gatlin once claimed that the Coward of the County songwriter Roger Bowling had it in for him. When Gatlin, as the story goes, congratulated Bowling after he won Country Song of the Year at the Grand Ole Opry, Bowling replied, "Fuck you, Gatlin!" To which Gatlin responded, "Let me tell you something, Hoss. If we weren't in the Grand Old
Hoss, I love this already.
Let me do the whole quote. Let me tell you something, Hoss. If we weren't in the Grand Old Opry House dressed in tuxedos, I would open up a boot shop in your ass."
Nice.
That is a direct quote from Larry Gatlin. He said that, and
You sure that wasn't a Red Foreman quote from that 70s show?
2 years later, Bowling wrote the song, and the name Gatlin appeared, which made things awkward for Gatlin, as people were now associating him with a rapist. Gatlin had even once dated a girl named Becky, and wrote a song about her. And years later, when he confronted Kenny Rogers over this, Kenny apparently threw his hands up and exclaimed, "I didn't write the song." That's probably what I would do too. But
Sounds like he didn't ask too many questions when he was given that song in the first place.
I don't think Kenny Rogers asked any questions. I think people just gave him songs and he sang them and he just had...
Get my name right on the check.
But the last thing that I really want to mention, that I really wish I'd found this out while we were doing the episode, because I would have loved to include this. Now, being a Kenny Rogers classic standard, there have been many covers of Coward of the County over the years, including this one from a little band called Alvin and the Chipmunks. I'll stop that there, because that's really all you need to hear about it. Yeah. Now...
or have they reached the bottom of the barrel? Were there no better songs for the family-friendly Chipmunks to be singing?
That is off the Chipmunks' only country album, which is called Urban Chipmunk, the cover of which is a parody of the poster Urban Cowboy starring John Travolta, except it's Alvin. Now, thankfully, poor unfortunate Becky doesn't appear in this song. They have rewritten it. So in the Chipmunks version,
Sacrilege.
so the Chipmunks don't have to sing the line.
He took turns as Becky, and there were 3 of them.
In this version, Tommy is getting revenge on the Gatlin boys for beating up his best buddy in the world. But but it's still one of the weirdest songs to hear the Chipmunks sing, because they did include the line,
He was only 10 years old when his daddy died in prison.
which is a very surreal line to hear the Chipmunks say.
Oh my god. The fucking Alvin and the Chipmunks, they don't mess around now.
I want to do a deeper dive on the Chipmunks to see what other weird shit that they've covered over the years.
What was the name of their dad on the show? Dave?
Dave.
Yeah, it was Dave. Yeah, I wonder if they were kind of directing that at Dave, like getting some aggression out at him.
Well, he was also their manager, so he planned what songs they would cover as well.
Oh my god, it's like the Jacksons.
Absolutely like the
Holy
Jacksons.
shit, I never made that connection before.
That's why you don't hear much about Alvin these days, because he's a bit of a social pariah. You know, he lives up in the hills, and every once in a while they drop a couple of God, what's smaller than a chipmunk? I was about to make like a horrible joke about like little things getting dropped off at Alvin. Not literally nothing smaller than a chipmunk though. So like
lots of things are smaller than a chipmunk, but like
nothing you're gonna take sexual advantage of though. That's the lowest. The chipmunk is the lowest on the totem pole.
It seems like it ought to be. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've now spent the first 10 minutes of this podcast talking quite a lot about rape. So let's move on.
I was gonna say we tried to move away from this subject, and probably should have mentioned this.
Oh. Boy! Well, let's move on to My Brother the Pig.
Mm-hmm.
It is directed by a gentleman named Eric Fleming.
So I did like the barest amount of research for this already.
Yeah.
Where like I just looked at like who the director was, and like on IMDb it shows trailers for some of his other movies.
Yes.
And I watched one of them called Cyber Bandits, And that led me down like this like amazing YouTube rabbit hole where I just watched a bunch of like 90s movie trailers, all with the title Cyber something in it, like Cyber Tracker, Cyber Cop. That was how I spent my Thursday evening. But I was blown away by like Cyber Bandits, and I said like this has to be a future episode.
Now,
right
we
here.
could tell you the synopsis and the cast list for Cyber Bandits, or we could let legendary voiceover actor Jim Cummings do it.
In the world of the future, cyberspace is the ultimate high. Until the world's most powerful criminal turns a virtual paradise into the ultimate weapon. Now, one man stands between humanity and the high-tech hell. His body itself holds the key to the invention everyone is dying to get their hands on. Starring Martin Kemp of The Craze, Alexandra Paul of TV's Baywatch, Billboard chart topper Adam Ant, supermodel and singer Grace Jones of A View to a Kill, and Robert Hayes of Airplane 1 and 2. Cyber Bandits. In the future, there is a new kind of criminal.
I mean, I'm sorry, but like, why on earth would we attempt to do that?
He's the
Jim
master of
Cummings
his
did so
craft.
perfectly right there.
I was kind of impressed just by like overhearing that trailer. Like I know, having watched that trailer a couple of times, like you spliced like all his monologue all together there. I'm surprised that beat kept it pretty consistent all the way through.
Bad. I mean,
Yeah, no gunshots, no explosions, no like dialogue from the other characters. Like no, that was just him and his like smoky, rich voice with like a real smooth beat underneath it. It was like those old slow jam segments that Jimmy Fallon used to do.
You should cut an album. Jim Cummings presents songs to fuck to.
Hell yeah, I listen to that.
That's why his last name is Cumming.
Oh damn.
Eric Fleming, he directed a movie called Cyber Bandits. Before that, though, he directed a short film based on the Marvel Comics property, The Silver Surfer.
Mm-hmm.
That is available on YouTube. It is 5 minutes long. I wouldn't recommend anyone watch it. I'll just describe everything that happens in it. It starts off, scientists are watching like their computer monitor, and they see a little dot come closer to Earth, and they're all like, oh, what's this? We gotta focus on this. And then the surfer comes down to Earth. He saves a kid from being bullied. And then the surfer he's holding a Terminator doll, and then he magically transforms the Terminator doll into a Silver Surfer doll, and then he smiles, and then he flies away. And that's it. That's the Silver Surfer movie that this guy did. There's even a post-credits scene. Decades before the Marvel Cinematic Universe did that thing, there's even a post-credits scene where like the little kid is playing with the doll, and then like a bunch of like guys in white come in and try to take it from him.
That's where I got the idea from. From this 5-minute short film from the 90s.
It's weird, yeah. It's a weird little, I'm assuming student film. I'm going to assume that this guy and the other filmmakers that he made the film with realized that Silver Surfer is probably the easiest character to make in computer-generated graphics circa 1994. Because it's easy to make just like a silver dude.
Yeah. Is he all CG? It's not just a guy like the Times Square like statue people.
Looks like absolute garbage.
Oh no way! Really? Amateur filmmaker making like a 5-minute short on like a Marvel property before Marvel was what it is now.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't look amazing. Huh.
1994, like I don't even know. I think like the only movies that Marvel had made at that point was that terrible Captain America one that Canon did.
And the Fantastic Four one that was never
That
released.
wasn't released. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is pre-Blade, so it was a little weird to see like a short Marvel Comics thing with such low quality. I'm not even sure they even got the license from Marvel.
I bet they didn't.
They did it.
Okay, well, good for them. The little story, a little legend that could.
And the only other movie that Eric Fleming has directed is he directed a comedy called Bad Trip, a.k.a. Tyrone, which stars Ethan Suplee and Kevin Connolly, a.k.a. I'm Roger and I don't smoke, from Reach Me, who are two stoners who run over a criminal named Tyrone, played by Coolio, and have to run and hide from his brother and sister, who are also played by Coolio.
Your nemesis, Coolio.
He's not my nemesis. I saw one cooking show where he cheated and he was voted off, and I thought that was dishonorable.
Sure, Kaz. All right.
And then I alluded that he didn't wash his hands, which
You accused him of exclusively making music videos for Pornhub.
I did. There was probably should have mentioned that where I corrected myself.
Right.
I've apologized enough to Coolio, and you know what?
That can't take away the hurt that that man has felt.
I have apologized numerous times to Coolio, and you know what? He has never written me back. So if anything, I'm the one that needs apologizing.
Ugh.
Coolio, you're back on blast. All right. The writer of My Brother the Pig is a gentleman named Matthew Flynn. Previous to this, this is the only movie he's ever written. Previous to this, he wrote 3 children's point-and-click PC games.
Okay. Known for their narrative flow, those games.
The Lion King, Timon and Pumbaa's Jungle Games, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Topsy-Turvy Games, and Nightmare Ned. Do you remember Nightmare Ned?
Holy shit, yeah, I remember Nightmare Ned, yeah.
I don't know if that was a TV show first and then they made the point-and-click game, or if the point-and-click game came before that, but...
I don't know if there actually was a cartoon, but, I know it was a point-and-click game, and...
Oh, no, there was a cartoon. I was talking about the cartoon. I remember the cartoon.
Oh, okay, well, I have no idea what came first, but yes, I remember that. I remember the box art for where, the monster's claws burst through the kid's bedroom wall. That looked very imaginative and cool, back in the day. I never played it, but it looked awesome.
Well, it's from the writer of My Brother the Pig, so there you go. Yeah.
So this guy's got a bit of a Disney pedigree, eh?
Kind of. If you could call working on PC games a pedigree, more of a pedigree than I have. So there you go.
I mean, they call the people who work at the park cast members, even if they're just
Yes.
concession stand people. So hey.
No, Nightmare Ned was a really good TV show. It was kind of like Disney's version of Courage the Cowardly Dog.
I've never seen that, but isn't that supposed to be way too dark for a kid show?
Yeah. And I think Nightmare Ned was pretty dark too. I don't know. I wanted to check it out, but it's not on Disney Plus, which is odd.
Oh yeah. I hear a lot of Disney Plus is them correcting the record. I don't know if Song of the South is on there or
No.
I know the Black Cauldron's not on there, which is it's Bastard Child.
Black Cauldron's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine movie. It gets unfairly maligned. All right, 2 other people in the crew that I want to talk about. We actually have 2 Oscar winners associated with this movie. The editor of this movie is a gentleman named Scott Conrad. He won an Oscar for editing for a little movie. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Rocky.
Oh, okay.
Yes. That was the beginning of his editing career, and My Brother the Pig is somewhere near the tail end of his career. So we can kind of see the decline in quality in what he worked with there.
Just like in Desert Heat, hey?
Yes! Oh yeah, exactly. But on the other side of that coin, someone who started off in this movie and later went on to tremendous success, the musical score in this movie was composed by Michael Giacchino.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. He did The Incredibles, right? And
he does most of the Pixar. He does The Incredibles, he did Up, he did Inside Out, he's done Ratatouille, he's done Star Trek, Mission Impossible, Lost, Doctor Strange, just countless others. He's top tier of film composers right now. God, this is the 3rd movie that he ever composed a score for.
So I got my hopes are sky high for at least the soundtrack of this movie being amazing. I love when a well-known composer does something that's a little schlocky, a little kind of beneath them. What was I watching years ago? Krull. And I think James Horner did the soundtrack to that.
Right.
Yeah, I know. It was this movie sounds awesome. And look, there's Liam Neeson. This adds some pedigree to it.
Yeah, interestingly enough, much like the writer of this, before he started as the composer for that we all know and love, he actually got his start also working in video games.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of composers do that.
He scored the video games primarily for Sega Genesis, also Disney-themed. So he scored, for the Genesis, he scored Gargoyles, Donald Duck, starring in Maui Mallard, Small Soldiers, which isn't Disney, but anyway. So yeah, that's a weird little bit of trivia.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so let's roll over and let's meet the cast.
Yeah, let's meet the cast. This is kind of a robust cast from what I looked into.
So starting off, first on the call sheet here is someone named Scarlett Johansson.
Not too familiar. Oh, the girl from Ghost World.
Yes, and a love song for Bobby Long.
Yeah, and Lost in Translation. Yeah, indie darling, that Scarlett Johansson.
That doesn't work. The way the game works, Jameson, is you pick the obscure movies that she's been in. Wait, you said Ghost World. Fuck, that didn't work. All right. This game is ruined. We probably should have let off with that. But yes, this is a very early role for Scarlett Johansson.
One of her first roles, I think.
This is actually the 9th movie she was in.
Okay, fuck what I just said.
This is why one of us does the research. No, this was sandwiched between working with Robert Redford in The Horse Whisperer and the Coen brothers in The Man Who Wasn't There. So something about working with like these two top tier directors right in the middle of it, like young Scarlett Johansson said, you know what? I really want to tell a story about my brother becoming a pig.
That art house idea.
She isn't the only big name in this movie. This movie also stars Eva Mendes.
Whew, have a huge celebrity crush on her, and Scarlett Johansson, actually.
Oh yeah. The celebrities in this movie like really go from hot to hottest to smoking hot like can't even touch, with Scarlett Johansson being hot, and then hotter being Eva Mendes, and then smoking hot being the third star of this movie, Judge Reinhold. I mean, just perfection. I mean, just like, the man was chiseled out of granite.
Yeah, like, so I haven't seen any of the Beverly Hills Cop movies. My only association with Judge Reinhold is the episode of Arrested Development where he plays a judge, and the episode of the Clerks cartoon where he plays a judge.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That joke was funny when Kevin Smith did it in the Clerks cartoon, and then it was kind of funny when they did it again in Arrested Development, and then did you ever see the movie Fanboys?
Is that the one where the Star Wars kids try to go see episode 1? Kinda, yeah.
There's a moment in that where Billy D. Williams has a cameo as a judge, and they look at his name tag, and it says Judge Reinhold, and that was the third time I'm all like, okay, it's not funny anymore. And you're dragging Billy D. Williams into this, so stop it. We get it. Who else is in this? Also in this movie is a little boy named Alex D. Linz, who you may remember from such forgettable kids movies that came out when we were kids called Max Keeble's Big Move and Home Alone 3, also starring Scarlett Johansson.
I'll take your word for it.
And finally, as the grandmother in this movie, we have an actress named Renee Victor, who played Lupita in a TV show that I really like called Weeds.
Oh, okay. I have heard of Weeds.
She has probably the best line in that entire TV show.
Hey, Lupita. Settle an argument for us. What do you call the thing between the dick and the asshole?
The coffee table.
Because there's two of them? Well, that's everything that I've written down. You got anything else to say about this thing?
No, that's pretty much it. Just watch, my brother. How do you think he gets turned into a pig? Do we want to make bets on this? Is it like a lab experiment? Is it magic? Is it?
Good question. I'm going to say a magical artifact, like a necklace.
I'm gonna say it's like a birthday wish or something. She makes a birthday wish, and then like the camera like lingers on the smoke from the candles as she blows them out, and then the brother wakes up the next day in the bed. That's my guess.
I like that, like a reverse big.
Yeah. Pig.
Well, all right, cool. Let's take a break and let's go watch My Brother the Pig, and then when we come back, we'll tell you what that movie is all about. Boy, these quarantine episodes are a lot looser, a lot more free flowing than they usually are.
It was Beer Friday at my office technically, and even though we're all working remotely, we set like a video conference call where everyone was having beer. So I'm like 2 beers deep as we're starting this already. Yeah, kind of negating what I was saying before about how I was saving money by not drinking. I buckled. I had to gear up for WrestleMania this weekend.
Oh yeah, they're still doing that, aren't they? The most ill-advised WrestleMania of all time.
You can't convince Vince not to do it.
That's probably true. All right, cool. All right, we'll see you after the break.
Stay tuned.
We're back from watching some wholesome family goodness.
Was that what you would call it? Kaz, that was one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen.
It It was called My Brother the Pig. What did you expect?
I know what I was expecting. None of what I saw. Every turn was a different surprise.
What on earth are you talking about? That was one of the most predictable movies I've ever fucking...
Oh, you predicted that Eva Mendes came from a long line of Aztec witches?
Oh boy, okay, yeah, no, that's like a whole thing that we gotta like unpack right there. So yes, thankfully for, like a movie that is primarily aimed at, not even primarily, entirely aimed at children, yes, this is significantly less assaulty than the last movie we did, but, there's still like a little sprinkling of casual racism just sort of like mixed in here.
Yeah, we seem to we exchanged rape for racism with this go around, so we're not getting any better here with our movie selections.
I can't wait to see what we watch next. Oh boy.
How low can we go on this podcast? Holy fuck.
Just, it's... it was nice. It was heartwarming to see them trot out that old mythical Latina stereotype. I haven't seen that since Paranormal Activity 2.
I don't think I've really seen that since what's that Tarantino one? Dawn of the Dead? Not Dawn of the Dead.
Death Proof?
No, not Death Proof. The one that he didn't direct it, he wrote it. Dusk Till Dawn. I haven't seen that since Dusk Till Dawn.
That's not really the same thing, because they were vampires. I guess they had magic in the sense that they were vampires, but yeah, okay.
This is a very fantasy heavy kind of movie.
Yes, Jameson. This movie is just like From Dusk Till Dawn. All right, where do you want to start? So this movie opens up with animated credits.
Yep.
Saving a lot of money in that animation budget.
Now, Kaz, you're very familiar with some of my animated work. I know, like, you've been in one of the episodes. I cut a lot of corners with my animation style as a means to save time and to sort of cover up for my own incompetence. And it seems that this animation team did a lot of the same. Very shoestring budget. They had to save all the money for, like, animal wrangling on this movie.
Yeah, I think your animated cartoons on YouTube might have slightly more animation than the opening titles of this. There was one in particular that they just kept using over and over again, which is cartoon Scarlett Johansson just running past the screen, and her animated brother has a variety of things on the end of a stick that he's just dangling, chasing her with.
He's got like a spider or a snake, chases her with a net at one point. Yeah, they got a lot of mileage out of that sequence.
Yeah, the only thing that changes is what he's holding, but it's literally the exact same frame of animation that they use like at least charitably 20 times.
It's like Disney with their whole Xerox era. Given what we were saying before, like this guy, or there's some people in this movie production that had a lot of history with the Disney company, so maybe that's where they picked up some tips and tricks.
Yes, well, everyone eventually becomes part of the Disney company, eventually.
Yeah, I can't wait till we sell out to Disney.
Okay, we're getting there. We'll get there eventually.
But yeah, that was really just to underpin the point that Scarlett Johansson, as you would expect, has a mischievous little brother who is just like a constant nuisance to her. Much to her chagrin, and everyone else just seems to not give a shit that her little brother is a bit of an anarchist.
Much to her chagrin and to us, the audience's chagrin, because that means we now have to watch an entire hour-and-a-half movie about two bratty, shitty little kids who hate each other and hate being in each other's company. And the only thing that makes it mildly tolerable is the fact that one of them gets turned into a pig fairly early on. But then we're still, unfortunately, stuck with preteen Scarlett Johansson. She's fucking insufferable in this movie.
Yeah, I have never seen a movie where I found Scarlett Johansson insufferable until today. She is awful in this movie. I cannot root for her as a protagonist whatsoever. Early on, I was kind of sympathetic, because the movie opens with her brother waking up at the crack of dawn in, like, tactical SWAT gear to tie a mouse to her ankle, and she runs out of her room screaming.
I really want to talk about that. George, the shitty little pig brother, takes, like, a little white mouse. Also, just realized, little white mouse, smaller than a chipmunk. There we go. That's what Alvin gets farmed to his house in the hills and everything like that. Oh, he loves
20 minutes.
Oh, he loves the mice. Oh, he loves the little white mice. The white mice are the best. That's my Alvin. No. She ties like a little tiny mouse with a string to her ankle, freaks her out, and then she runs like crazy to her parents' room. Let's just be perfectly honest. That mouse is dead. You tie a small animal to someone's leg and they run down the hall, that mouse's brains are all over the walls. Like, come on.
Yep, that poor little creature is dead.
Yes. I mean, this mouse survives.
Good note to start your family-friendly movie on. Yeah, and so, like, the dad, the dad takes the mouse off her, and he doesn't reprimand the son for this at all. No disciplinary action is taken. If anything, he goes back to the daughter, and she's like, can't you do something about him? Like, I can't believe he gets away with all this stuff. He's like, you're his older sister. You got to set a good example for him and everything. And I'm like, discipline your fucking out-of-control son, you idiot.
Discipline your children, Judge Reinhold. Yeah, you're really taking like a hands-off situation right here. Well, but he doesn't want to get into it because this also happens to be the same day. The time, the chronology of the scenes that happen early on in this movie is really confusing because it seems like it's all one day, but then, like, later on, like, a character mentions something and it's all like, oh no, it's been like a week? So let's try and, like, break down this time frame. So this also happens to be the same day that Judge Reinhold and his wife, played by actor lady, are...
I was hoping, wow, you finally got stumped.
I don't know who I'm sure she has a name. I don't know. I can look it, and I'm not gonna look it up now. Yeah, so Scarlett Johansson's parents are going on a romantic getaway to Paris, and they're leaving that night, and they are leaving her and her brother in the care of their Mexican nanny, Matilda, who is played by Eva Mendes, who is super cute, and I love her, and is the best character in this movie, because she's actually a nice person, and you want to spend time with her.
Easily the most likable person in this movie, and she is carrying this movie.
Oh, she's trying harder than anyone else in this movie. Like, she really is. So yeah, the mom and the dad go to Paris, which kind of a dick move, because if there's one thing we quickly learn about young Scarlett Johansson is that she's all about that Paris life. Like,
yeah, that idealized, like, storybook version of Paris. She's obsessed with meeting a cute French boy and being with the arts and the culture of the City of Lights.
The movie opens with a voiceover, and she is narrating to
Jean-Jacques,
this hypothetical French pen pal.
Dear Jean-Jacques, I write this secret letter to you in hopes you find it and rescue me. I live in a city lacking any je ne sais quoi. I yearn for springtime in Paris. Au revoir. P.S. The key is under the doormat.
She wears, like, Eiffel Tower pajamas. She visits a website.
Oh god, the website.
She visits an early 90s website that is just, like, random stock photos of France, and then there are 3 links underneath. One is take a tour of France. The other one is take a look at French cuisine. The third one is
pictures of French boys.
Pictures of French boys, which she then clicks on, and then there's just a picture with a boy with his shirt off. What website is this?
Did she visit, like, a mail order husband site or something?
I mean, I know in 1998 or whatever this movie came out, like, the internet only had 30 sites on it, but since the websites were a little more detailed than that one.
I think that was the official Government of France webpage.
Come to Paris! Look at all these French boys we have. Unless we missed the part where they explained that Scarlett Johansson is the one that built that website.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it
which
back.
I'd also buy. But yeah, the parents go off to Paris. It's kind of a dick move, because that's, like, Scarlett Johansson's, like, number one thing. That's where she wants to go. She's stuck behind, and she's, like, being a bratty preteen. We also meet the little brother's best friend, like that classic sitcom staple of the best friend who's always over and never seems to go home.
Never, like, he mentions his parents, but, like, you never see the parents. Yeah, Freud, my least favorite character in the entire movie.
You know what? I liked him a little bit more than Scarlett Johansson, and I can't believe I'm saying that. It's a little wild.
Okay, I just like both of them, but for different reasons. I just thought Freud was an annoying little shit.
Yeah,
he was like that kid whose, like, parents let him watch Frasier, and so all of a sudden he was like kind of repeating words that he knew from that, like, highbrow show, but didn't quite really know what they meant. He was a little too smart for his own good. Well, I don't know. I think the movie didn't know whether they wanted to play him as, like, a child genius, or just, like, a bratty know-it-all, or just, like, a kid who wouldn't shut up. Because it seemed to gravitate whether or not he actually knew what he was talking about, or he didn't. Like, if he was just, like, a wise ass, or if he actually was smart. And they seemed to, like, rewrite him scene to scene. Did you get that vibe?
Yeah, that they rewrote all the characters scene by scene, like based on like what the plot like demanded of them at that particular moment. Yeah, no, I'll buy that. Yeah, I'll buy that of this movie. Yeah, no, like I'm fairly confident that looking at like the time frame, I'm pretty sure this was filming around the same time that Star Wars Episode 1 was filming, and if that wasn't the case, Freud would have been played by Jake Lloyd. I am
for sure.
fairly confident, but they got off-brand Jake Lloyd.
Well, ironic, because now Jake Lloyd is the off-brand Jake Lloyd. Oh, that's mean. Sorry, I had to knock him down a peg.
Let's not make fun of Jake Lloyd only on the internet, only because A, that has happened to him a lot, and B, looking at his mugshot, he literally looks like he could snap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then force choke us all. So, at one point, unsupervised, George and Freud decide to make a dessert treat. Because, like, George's diet consists entirely of sugar cereals like Fruit Loops and Captain Crunch and Nesquik and a Rice Krispie square.
This was like some subtle filmmaking here. Yeah, we see like George like eat like his sugary breakfast, but they wanted to like sow the seeds of this kid is like off the rails. This kid isn't just like a normal hyper kid. This is like a hyper kid. And it's evidenced by the fact that did you notice that he poured the milk into his cereal bowl before he pulled his cereal into the bowl?
I did not notice that, no.
Classic sociopath behavior right there.
Really? That's on that's something to look out for, eh?
Yeah, if you're dating someone and they pour their milk before their cereal, fucking run.
Mm. Any other hot tips? Like they put like ketchup on macaroni or eat their corn on the cob sideways instead of vertically?
That one I want to try. When we can go out in the public again, I'm going to do that. I'm going to find a park bench. I'm just going to eat corn the wrong way.
Yeah. Who's to say what's the right way? What's the wrong way? Your wrong way, my right way.
And then I'll meet the love of my life.
You don't even have to go to those pictures of French boys websites. But yeah, so George and Freud make this like they get a punch bowl and they just fill it with like every bit of candy that they have in the house, and then they freeze it because they want to make the frozen thing.
The frozen thing!
Which is like this big popsicle of sugar and candy.
It's just the hoariest, cliched kid movie bullshit scene where it's like, oh, like two little boys are in the house and they're alone. Hey, let's get all the candy and ice cream and sugar and marshmallows and let's just like put it all in one big bowl and let's make a big mess because we're boys, even though I'm fairly confident that has never happened in like the history of the world outside of movies. Ever. Kids are aware that actions have consequences.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I didn't have nearly as many sweets throughout my entire childhood than are in that montage sequence.
That's the other thing. Why are you buying so much sugar for your kids?
Yeah.
You're a two-child household. Why are you just like stocked up? Why do you have like 5 packs of Twizzlers, Judge Reinhold?
The parents clearly don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't care to discipline their kid. They don't care to have them, have a responsible upbringing with like with a good diet. They don't care.
No, that's what the magical nanny is for.
Exactly. So yeah, they freeze the dessert. They make a mess of the kitchen, and then like that goes unpunished. So like ScarJo is at like her wit's end. And so when the parents are gone, she says like, "Hey, George."
This is the thing. This is where the time frame gets confusing. So George and Freud mess up the kitchen. Eva Mendes comes in. She's kind of all like, no, you boys, you better clean this up. Scarlett Johansson gets mad. It's all like, well, you're not going to yell at them? You're not going to punish them in any way? It's all like, no, we'll just clean this up before your parents get home. And she's all like, I'm going to take photos. I'm going to take photographic evidence that proves that you made a mess. Next scene, the parents are loading up all of the luggage into the car because they're on their way to the airport, and she's like showing the Polaroids to Judge Reinhold. It's all like, look, he misbehaved, and you get the feeling that's all like, wait, is this all taking place over the same day? Because it seems like time has passed. This is another movie where the timing is really weird because it's like, no, we gotta go to Paris. All right, it's fine. Look after your brother. And then the very next scene, there's no like transitional wipe or anything. The very next scene, they're back in the kitchen, and then Eva Mendes goes like, boy, it's been like 9 days since your parents went to Paris. And it's all like, how the fuck were we supposed to know that unless you, a character, literally tells us?
Yeah, Oscar-winning film editor worked on this, you say.
So anyway, George goes into Eva Mendes' room in the house.
Yeah, at the egging on of ScarJo saying like, go and destroy her room. Like, she's not on my side on this sort of thing. You never get in trouble for anything. Just fucking go nuts. I don't care anymore.
Oh,
So he goes into
hold on. We forgot to mention that during their ice cream montage, the 90s ice cream kid montage of throwing all of the candy into one bowl, the soundtrack was a bed track for the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, The Impression That I Get. Because, of course it was.
It was the instrumental version of Knock on Wood, which is, well, like, very upbeat, era-specific song, but I have never heard of the instrumental version of that song. Was it cheaper to get that than, like, the actual rights to that one song? Like,
Okay, they just tried to get, like, they just got, like, the karaoke bed track CD that you could find sometimes. I'm gonna be that obnoxious person throughout it actually here. I used to think that the song was also called Knock on Wood. The actual name of the song is The Impression That I Get. Yes. So now you know! And now you know.
Alright, well, all you Mighty Mighty Bosstones fans, you can send your Mighty Mighty hate mail, care of the fuck is this, at gmail.com.
We just call them the Stones. It gets a little confusing, but, we know. We know the truth.
Yeah, the Mighty Mighty redundancy in their name. Okay, so, George gets his frozen delight out of the freezer, and he goes just to, like, explore Eva Mendes' bedroom, and in the process discovers these magic crystals that she has in her possession.
So I was closer, right? Because I said magic. What did you say? I said magic necklace. This was magic something?
Gemstones or crystals. Really cheap, fake-looking crystals.
So Eva Mendes has a box filled with little crystal animal figurines.
Yeah, crystal animal crackers.
And there's like a spell book next to it as well. And George looks into it, and his ice cream drips into the box, and then
amazing special effects fill the room, and he...
flashing lights, fog machine, he's a pig now.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And no one really seems all that surprised by this.
No one does. Like, everyone kind of clues in relatively quickly that, like, that is George, he's turned into a pig. They're all pretty calm about it. My favorite point about all of this was that, Eva Mendes is fully aware that, like, he turned into a pig because of her magic crystals and her, like, magical ancestry. She can't really explain how that works, why it happened the way it did. All she knows is that, we can totally reverse it. Don't worry about it. But, like I just wrote down in my notebook, she says, like, somehow, like, this is hard to believe, you can't, but I don't know how this happened, but somehow it did. It's like, the fucking screenwriters didn't know how this fucking happened either. They just, like, fuck it, magic crystal, ice cream, he's a pig now. We gotta move on with this plot. We gotta keep it clicking along.
Well, it's because she's foreign.
I'm sorry, what was that, Cass?
It's because she's foreign, so obviously she's magic. That's how it works.
I see.
Like us regular white people, like, we don't have the magic. We don't have, like, the magic ancestry or anything like that. But those Mexican ladies, they are, like, they're basically witches.
I thought you were saying, well, it's because she's foreign, like, that's how she couldn't explain it. She hadn't got to that section of her ESL class. Oh, boy. Oh, these movies.
Painting me in a heavenly light there.
Yeah, sorry, I made that assumption on you. Alright, so they decide, well, what does Eva Mendes say?
So her family are like keeper of the animal spirits.
Of course.
That's what she said.
Almost forever, the women of my family have been the keepers of the animal spirits. See, each and every one of us has this little part inside of us, like a parallel soul. So most of us can't even see or feel, but it's there. And sometimes we go all our lives without ever knowing our animal half. And well, George just happens to be a pig.
There are like animals inside of all of us, which will come back. We'll come back into play near the end of the movie. But yeah, there's like animal spirits inside of all of us, and they lie dormant, and only the members of her family know how to bring them out, which they haven't done in 500 years or something, which made me laugh because that was the exact same explanation they gave to Bebop and Rocksteady in the second live-action Ninja Turtles movies.
Oh god, I remember that, yeah.
That they had, like, also, one of them turned into a pig, so the movies are really...
people, it all connects.
They remade My Brother the Pig.
Yeah, Michael Bay clearly saw My Brother the Pig and mined it for ideas.
Yeah, well, he's worked with Scarlett Johansson, so maybe there's some truth to that. You know what else I remembered while I was watching this that I've forgotten? This isn't the only movie that Scarlett Johansson and Eva Mendes have been in. If you can imagine it, they've actually been in a movie significantly worse than this movie. They were
in The Spirit together, weren't they?
Yeah, they were in The Spirit.
Right, that movie sucked.
The movie was sensationally terrible. Do you think they reminisced on the set of The Spirit about My Brother the Pig?
I bet they gave each other like a knowing look, and then just don't talk about it. Like they're like, and this is Scarlett Johansson. This is Eva Mendes.
Oh. Hello!
Hello! Nice to meet you, Eva Mendes. We've certainly never been on
you for the first time ever, and then like their handshakes kind of like tighten and like...
I imagine when they were on the set of The Spirit, like they must not have known when they were making The Spirit that The Spirit was going to be as much of a dumpster fire as it was. They must have thought that they were making like another Sin City. They must have thought it was going to be cool.
Oh, yeah. Everyone thought they were making another Sin City.
Yeah. So they were probably all like, this will be significantly better than My Brother the Pig. It has to be.
I wonder if during like some downtime, like they just overheard one of the crew members just like chit-chatting with someone else and said like, yeah, my brother, you know, he's a real pig. And then they were like, what have you heard? What? Like, no, I'm just saying my own brother. He's a pig. Like, oh, okay. All right.
So Matilda, the nanny, who is legally responsible for these children while their parents are overseas, decides the best thing to do, the only thing to do, is to put everyone into the car, into the mom's convertible with the license plate Mom's Joy, and drive to Mexico to go see her grandmother, who is on top of being Mexican, is also old. So she's like twice as magic. You know, like Eva Mendes, she's a student in like her 20s, so she's only like a little bit magic. But her grandmother, like the older you get, the older the Mexican ladies get, the more magic they get. That's a well-known fact. Watch Coco. Everyone knows that.
You move out of Mexico, you start losing your connection to the spirit world there. So, gotta remember your roots. Yeah. So yeah, she drives them into Mexico.
They take Freud with them.
Yeah, see, you need me. I'm gonna be George's translator.
Well, what would your parents say? They would be worried sick for you.
No problem. We agreed that I needed a little child-parent separation. They said as soon as my independence became too much, I could go right home.
They managed to sneak across the border in like a really fucking hilarious scene.
In another case of this movie reminding me of wildly different movies, the scene where the nanny drives up to the Mexican border and convinces the border guard to let her and these white children that she is in charge of cross the border. As I was sitting here watching this, I was thinking, this is how Babel starts as well too, and that didn't end up well for anyone.
So they talk their way into the border because like the border guards like not believe in a goddamn word that they're saying because their stories are all conflicting. But like,
well, he's apparently German, so that's kind of weird.
Buenos dias, señor.
I did like Scarlett Johansson's one-line reading of,
Hi, nice to meet you. I love tacos.
that made me laugh. Just her delivery
that
of
was
that.
like a line
written by the screenwriters who knew Spanish, or they just asked like a Spanish friend, it's like, hey, I need some Mexican jargon for my movie, and it's just, oh, just say this, gringo.
No, I'm fairly certain the writer of this has never met a Mexican person in his life.
No.
Day one where he met Eva Mendes, that was where he was.
Everything else was just sort of like secondhand story that he heard from somebody else. Describe Mexico. So they get to the small rural Mexican village of Agua Caliente, which means spicy water.
Nope, it's hot water. Caliente means hot. Sorry to all our Spanish-speaking listeners. Lo siento por todos nuestros oyentes de habla hispana.
Did you notice the town motto?
No.
I don't remember like the Mexican thing, but I'm pretty sure it translated to, your water is my water. Just to make things twice.
And then like we just, get some delightful Mexican stereotypes for the next little bit. They arrive at Eva Mendes' grandma's house. Oh, Eva Mendes mentions that, like, sometimes it's hard coming home, but when the movie never really delves into why that is.
Yeah, they never explain why. I mean, she left to go to college, and she's all like, oh, it's really hard going home. But then she goes home and she sees her grandmother, and she loves her grandmother, and there's no bad blood between them. And then later on, she happens to run into her brother, who just runs a store and isn't really much of a character, but he's also there, and they take the time to point out that he's her brother, and, like, no, they love each other, and they're happy to see her, and it's like, yeah, why did you want to go away from this charming little favela? It's nice here.
Well, she probably went for her own reasons, but why is it so hard for her to be back? You know, like, it seemed like there was no bad blood, and, like, nothing was left unsaid. She's on good terms with everyone. Like, what's the problem? It seems like she can come and go as she pleases.
What I will say about this tiny little Mexican town, now, it was thoroughly stereotypical, but in, like, a nice way. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they could have done a lot of super duper negative Mexican stereotypes, and instead they took all of the positive Mexican stereotypes, and then they just kind of through, if you can call a stereotype positive.
Have you ever been to Epcot Center at Disney World?
No.
Okay. They have like this this world pavilion where like you can go to different like sections, and every section is sort of a recreation of like small rural towns of Germany or of England or of Canada or of Mexico. And I think this is a very Disney sanitized, put on a happy face version of Mexico. So that's what it kind of reminded me of. The Epcot Center version of Mexico.
Yeah, there's piñatas everywhere, and,
mariachi music. And
if you have to travel from one place to the other, it's either La Cucaracha or the Mexican hat dance.
Only those two.
I mean, okay, obviously, let me backpedal a bit here. Obviously, there aren't positive stereotypes. The idea of stereotypes is inherently negative. But I think, I remember a few years ago when Super Mario Odyssey came out.
Yes.
And there was, like, a little bit of an online uproar about the fact that one of Mario's abilities, one of Mario's costumes, was he got a sombrero, and he could put the sombrero on, he could throw the sombrero, and he had like a poncho on, and people got on the internet and they were like, oh, this is like cultural appropriation, meh. And then like actual Mexican people came and said like, you don't speak for us. We love it when we see other people celebrate our culture. We love that Mario is wearing a sombrero. Don't fucking speak for us. I think I mean like that.
Yeah, like Super Mario belongs to the world at this point, like.
Also, Mario
he's like Mickey Mouse. He can, like, you put on like culturally appropriate garb and it wouldn't be offensive because he's a citizen of the world and everyone all over the world loves Super Mario.
Also, Mario himself as a character is the antithesis of cultural appropriation because he's what a Japanese person thinks Italians are like.
Yeah. Did you know that, like, let's not go down on this path.
Oh, let's come on, you've already started.
I was going to bring up that in, like, the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, the Olympics that aren't happening this year.
Right.
He is, like, a cultural ambassador this year.
To Japan or to Italy?
From Japan, but I think, like, Italy is also adopting him.
I wonder why it took them till 2020. I don't know why Mario isn't the face of every Olympics. He's been in enough Olympic games. I would love if, like, obviously the Olympics have been postponed now, but I would love if Mario was the mascot of all of these Olympics and there was all of this stuff of him waving and going, wahoo! And then off in the corner, you have to squint to see, but there's Sonic, but he's really sad. No one's paying any attention to him. He's in those games too. Alright, moving on.
I thought it was stupid that they had, like, shared Olympics to begin with because Sonic, as the fastest guy alive, should be winning every one of those triathlon races. Gotta go fast. Way too slow.
Alright, well, we've now spent 10 minutes not talking about My Brother the Pig, so what else happens in this?
So they camp out at the grandmother's house, and ScarJo has a bit of a nightmare.
Oh my god.
She has a bad dream, which, like, adds nothing to the fucking movie.
No, because she's already in a bad...
I almost didn't want to mention it, but it's, like, so fucking weird, the sequence itself.
There was only one truly bizarre moment in that dream sequence that I thought was really weird. So...
What, where she's sitting on a giant, like, high chair in the middle of her yard, and it's still, like, that age Scarlett Johansson sitting in it, and not, like, a younger actress playing her?
I'm talking about the fact where her mom and dad assemble out of CGI butterflies, and then they're both wearing tuxedos? That was weird, right?
It was incredibly weird. I obviously don't remember what my parents were wearing when they brought me back from the hospital, but I know what they were wearing when they brought my younger sisters home, and it wasn't a tuxedo or a evening dress.
Well, then then they're doing it wrong.
Doing it wrong, yeah. It's got to be a classy affair when you bring your kids home. But yeah, them being assembled from like these metallic CG shards was wild to see.
Well, the dream sequence just went nowhere because she's all like, oh, I'm having a nightmare. Oh, my brother's a pig. It's all like, yeah, we already knew your brother was a pig. We didn't need a CGI nightmare in the middle of that to remind us. The movie's called My Brother the Pig. Like, we don't need like a midway reminder that that's what's going on.
The point of that dream was that it showed her like what her parents' reaction would be. Like, we counted on you to keep your brother safe. You had to be responsible for him. And the next morning at breakfast, she is freaking the fuck out at everyone at the table at why they're not being more proactive about turning him back into a human. Like Eva Mendes says that, oh yeah, like my grandma can totally do it. She says she'll do it. We just gotta wait another day for a full moon. And then like, okay, well, may as well just like spend an afternoon here in Mexico, and they're, having a nice quaint breakfast, and they're, just having a nice day, and ScarJo's, she's just being insufferable.
The tone of this movie is shockingly casual. Like, no, there are no stakes. There's also, like, it would be one thing if they transformed the brother into a pig and there was, like, a ticking clock. Like, there was like, a certain amount of time they had to turn him back into a boy. I mean, they say they need, like, a full moon, but, like, they could wait for okay, there is a ticking clock because they need to do it before, like, the parents come home from Paris, so there should be this sense of urgency that just isn't there at all. No one seems, we need to get this done. Like, even Scarlett Johansson, who's constantly being like, oh, we gotta turn my brother back into a boy. Oh, why is no one helping me turn my brother back into a boy? But then she kind of just like trails off and is all like, oh, dresses. Oh, what's over here? And then she just kind of like.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because it kind of ties back to like the parents' reaction when she's saying like, aren't you gonna do something about like your Hellraiser son here? And like, no, not really. Are you going to do anything about my brother now that he's a pig? No, not really. Like, do they just tune her out for the most part? Like,
I would if she was.
Yeah, you know what? Around this time, like, I really started to hate Scarlett Johansson, but like more than just like she's being a bratty teen, I found her to be like really culturally insensitive around this point.
It's my grandmother Berta. Creo que la asustaste. Ay, perdóname, nenita, no quise asustarte. Okay, alright, okay, get up. We're sleeping on our asses and they're deciding our future in Spanish, okay? We're gonna turn George back into a boy now, okay?
Deeply. She's insulting the grandmother's cooking.
Oh, and by the way, your food sucks.
She's like telling them like in English, please, like in their own country, like.
No, she's culturally insensitive before they even get to Mexico because they're on the road trip and they're listening to like the radio and Eva Mendes is just listening to like a Mexican song with like trumpets in the background and someone's sitting there and then like Scarlett Johansson turns the radio off. It's all like.
I think you would turn the radio off if you're listening to this song for the past 200 miles.
That was lovely music from a different culture. It had horns. What are you talking about? That's that is the definition of what music is. What are you talking about? It has horns in it. Little brat.
Yeah, but like at that point, I just thought Scarlett Johansson was being a DPW, which as we found out, which for you listeners, we find out in the movie that Freud and George have a nice little pet word for the DPW, which stands for dehydrated poop worm.
I know this is childish. It's somewhat revolting.
That's okay.
But DPW stands for dehydrated poop worm.
Dehydrated poop worm.
I actually really liked that a lot. That was one of the only things in this screenplay that, to me, sounded like something an actual little kid would say.
Yeah.
Like a little kid and his buddy coming up with that acronym. That seems true. That's the only thing that they said in this movie, and I'm all like, yeah, that sounds right. That sounds like something like a little kid would say. Everything else was just recycled screenplay bullshit. But good moment.
Yeah, and Freud likes just supposedly sounding way too smart than he ought to be, but just being an annoying little shit. But yeah, like my big takeaway was that like Scarlett Johansson like hated Mexico, hated Mexicans.
Okay, I don't think she hates Mexicans.
Her own ways, like I'm like, how fucking offensive is that?
Imagine this movie if, like, 13-year-old Scarlett Johansson just comes out and it's all like, I hate Mexicans. I'm surrounded by them.
Well, I should really. Her character hates Mexico and Mexicans.
You heard it first. This is fuck is this exclusive? Scarlett Johansson hates Mexicans.
No, I love Scarlett Johansson.
She's made some off-color casting choices before, so you know. Let's start that
She's
rumor
the
mill.
Black Widow. She can kick both our asses. We gotta stop this train now.
No, she can't. She's an actor. That's all fucking
She knows
After
the Hulk.
Effects. So they're in the Mexican town. Eva Mendes meets her brother at like a shop. I don't know who he is. He's just her brother. And they need to get the ingredients for the magic soup, which the grandmother will make.
Yeah, Grandma's good old mustard soup.
Mustard soup during a full moon that has to pass through the eye of a mountain that looks like a coyote.
Magic soup. Coyote Mountain. Coyote.
Which we will get to in a bit.
And then when all of that happens, you drop the crystals in the soup, and then you pour the soup on the pig, and then boy. Because sure, naturally, how else would you do that?
Yeah.
But they're in this town, and every man is just trying to get the ingredients, and in quick succession, Scarlett Johansson wanders off, meets two other little girls who she instantly becomes besties with because they say that she looks like Rachel from Friends. Which, fucking preteen Scarlett Johansson, nothing like Rachel from Friends is one of the most distinct 90s characters of all time. There was a haircut called the Rachel, based on that. Everyone knows what that character looks like. Looks nothing like her. If anything, Scarlett Johansson is more of a Phoebe.
Is it because, like, Rachel on the show was blonde and Scarlett Johansson was blonde? Because Rachel wasn't blonde. Those were...
No, she wasn't. She was brunette.
Yeah, those were highlights. So what is the connection that they're trying to make there? But yes, ScarJo she befriends these two girls because they speak English.
Right. They speak well. Not only do they speak English, but one of the first conversations she has with one of the little girls. Oh, you get TV here, and the little girl proceeds to list off the longest list of television channels.
Okay. What's so funny?
Oh, well, nothing. My sister just thinks he looks like that girl on Friends.
You watch Friends and you speak English.
Sure, we have a dish. You name it, we get it. MTV, CNN, HBO, Showtime, Disney, TNT, VH1, A&E, Discovery Channel, TNN, QVC, HC, WR, ABC, and the Playboy Channel if the weather's just right.
Like, what was the point of listing every TV channel that existed in the 90s?
To entice Scarlett Johansson back to their place. Which, at this point, I'm thinking to myself, these two seem like lures to get people kidnapped, you know? Like, you're so charming, you're so beautiful. Like, hey, you want to come back to our place and watch TV? We got satellite. Why don't you come over? Like, you got nothing to worry about. And then, bam, kidnapping story.
Well, that's fine because these two little girls, they're the Mexican equivalent of Freud because these two little girls also apparently have no parents. They're just at home alone all the time. So she goes off, she meets these little girls. We learn that the two little girls had an older brother who died because his heart was bad, and that's Scarlett Johansson's all like, oh, I have a brother. Oh, he's a pig. Oh, I should like him more because sometimes other people have brothers and they die, and that's a lesson learned. And then Freud realizes that Scarlett Johansson, what was her character name? Kathy. We've just been calling her Scarlett Johansson this entire time, and we'll continue to do so.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't have a problem with that.
So then Freud tells Eva Mendes, I'm just going to go wander off. I'm going to take George with me. And Eva Mendes, again, shockingly cool with it. Yeah, these two children I'm legally responsible for and have taken over the Mexican border. But sure, I'll just let them wander around this tiny little Mexican town, and now I'm feeling like I'm the one who's racist, because really this is like a lovely little town and nothing bad happens to them except...
Nothing bad happens to them yet.
Nothing bad happens to them yet, but even that, I have lots to say about that.
The rest of my notes are all about what happens then. So, what if Freud, like, runs into, like, some American tourists, and he decides he's gonna bilk them for some money by showing off his
the most easily impressed tourists ever. They're like American tourists, and they see that Freud has a pig, and they're all like,
Honey, look at that darling pig. Get a picture, it's so cute.
Hola, can we take a picture?
He speaks English.
Well, it'll set you back $2.
Get him down to $1. These people bargain. Mom!
Get a picture of that pig! Like, you know how many pigs in America?
Can you imagine, like, these people, like, going home and their neighbors come over?
Wow, a bird!
They come over and their neighbors are all like, hey, how was Mexico? Great, we saw a pig!
And this is before they found out the pig knew math and could do tricks.
Yeah, they gave him a mathin and then he, like, stomps his hoof on the ground, which you know was done by, like, tying fishing line to the poor fucking pig and then, like, yanking it back and forth.
Or just one shot of him, like, tapping the ground, and then they looped it a couple of times. But yeah, like, Freud bilks these saps out of their money with his trick pig, and then he decides, okay, well, that was a good way to kill the afternoon.
Yeah, well, no, Eva Mendes lets Freud go. It's all like, yeah, you gotta go, like, I don't know what happened to ScarJo. She wandered off, go and get her. And they are missing from her care for at least 12 hours. And we know that for a fact because not only does the sun go down, it comes up before they meet her again. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm. So now's kind of about the time that we should bring up, like,
my favorite character is
the main conflict of this movie now.
Yes, we finally get an antagonist at past the hour mark, a character that I'm going to refer to as the Sneezy Butcher.
Yeah.
Because he's a butcher.
He's the sneezy butcher.
And he sneezes.
Yeah.
I love this guy. So yeah, they go into like a back alley and George runs away from Freud for some reason because we need conflict. So he runs away.
I mean, like, I'll believe he ran away because, like, he's been shown to be disobedient throughout the early parts of the movie. Now that he's a pig and he's fucking vulnerable, he should be sticking with the group. But nothing entices him over into the alleyway. He just goes because, as you said, otherwise the movie has nowhere to go.
He's a stupid pig. And then a door opens, and the Sneezy Butcher comes out, and he grabs him, and he takes him into his butcher shop. And then Freud has to run. He grabs Scarlett Johansson. He grabs the other two girls, and they form this scheme about how to get her back. I love the Sneezy Butcher so much. There are like 3 different scenes of the Sneezy Butcher opening the door and then looking into the alley and like looking around. Oh, I really hope no one's spying on my totally legal butcher shop. Where I'm not doing anything suspicious, I'm just preparing food to sell to my neighbors. This guy's the surprise antagonist. He's not doing anything wrong.
Not at all.
He's just a butcher.
If anything, he's just a regular guy trying to make it in the world. Like, he's just
they just make him like really suspicious for some reason.
Because they found the best actor for this. Like he looked the part of, like, in any other movie he would be like the deranged serial killer.
Well, they needed someone to chase them for a while, and he does. So, like, okay, this guy isn't, like, completely free of any, like, crime or whatever, because after there's...
Well, this needs, like, a little bit more setup. So Freud...
A little bit of setup? Okay, yeah.
Well, so Freud, he manages to track George down at the butcher shop, sees that he's in the butcher shop, and then rather than go to save him, he goes to find the girls and tell them that they're in the butcher shop. He takes them back to the butcher shop, and he says, we got to get him out of there. And they say, no, we got to form a plan. Let's wait till morning, even though we can see that the butcher works throughout the night. So, like, he could be, like, killing George as we speak. But they decide, no, we're going to form a plan. They get a celery stick and they draw in the dirt.
Somehow,
they map out a plan on what to do.
Couldn't you have just been a regular stick? No, because this is a kid's movie, so it has to be extra wacky, so let's make it a piece of celery. But I cannot get over... You know what? I've been saying nothing but glowing things about Eva Mendes' character, but she probably shouldn't be in charge of children. Because she loses them in Mexico for a considerable amount of time.
At least overnight.
At least overnight!
Where they spend the evening, like...
Did they sleep in the alley? Like, what happened? Legitimately, what happened? They're making the plan in the alley, it's nighttime, and then when they execute the plan, it is daytime. What did they do for those 10 hours in between that?
Well, I'm wondering, why did you have to make the plan so difficult? Just knock on the butcher's door and say, hey, we think our pet pig ran into your pen. We can identify him. He knows tricks and he knows us. Can we just have a look? Can we just go get our pig? But no, they have to, like, full of clever ruse on this poor man.
Or at the very least, have a scene where they try to do that, and then the butcher reveals himself to be like, no, I'm a nasty butcher, haha, you can't have your pig, and then do the scheme, but it's all like, no, we're just gonna make this, like, overly complicated.
Yeah. So, they get the pig out, and then in the process of doing that, like, I guess they make a mess of his shop because, kids' movie hijinks.
And,
Well, he's just a stupid butcher because he has all of, like, these pickled meat things, but he keeps them in jars and he keeps them all on one rickety stool. So really, he only has himself to blame for that.
Yeah, and Scarlett Johansson knocks it over, and, her destroying his pickled jars puts the butcher in a murderous rampage. He grabs a meat cleaver and spends like the next 10 minutes chasing them throughout this sleepy Mexican town in broad daylight.
10 minutes is being charitable, yes. They spend far too much time on this man with a meat cleaver chasing children in broad daylight. Everyone sees it.
What is his plan here? To just murder the kids?
There was a moment when I was watching them all like, I hope he gets her. I hope he gets her. I hope he doesn't, like, kill her. I hope he just, like, hacks an arm off or something, Because, like, I've been sitting with this character for the entire movie, and someone's gotta get cleaved.
Yeah, I went from, like, being sympathetic to Scarlett Johansson to being like, this woman is, the beginnings of a monster and, like, a culturally insensitive monster, to, like, maybe she deserves to be killed by a butcher.
Meanwhile, fucking Eva Mendes is over here with her brother and the mom. So the reason she never went to look for the kids is she was busy because the mom's car got towed.
Right, yeah.
And, like, this was another scene that, like, made me laugh, because, like, yeah, she's come home unannounced. Her brother doesn't know that she's coming home. He's, like, surprised to see her, so she's chilling with her brother getting the magic soup ready, and then a tow truck tows the car away, and she goes,
They're taking Mom's joy!
What's Mom's story?
Daddy's car! Wait!
You've been hanging out with your brother for the past several hours. Have you told him nothing?
Yeah.
Have you not told him what your job is? Have you not told him what the story is with, like, the parents and the kid and the pig? He seems utterly clueless to everything.
That's probably why it was hard for her to go back, Like, how do you put into words what her life has been like since she left town? I don't want to get into it. Like, can you just make me a potion, please?
Maybe your brother has, like, really bad short-term memory, and that's why she doesn't want to go back, because it's like, it's such a pain in the ass to explain the same shit to him over and over again.
Yak, always with the questions. Get off my back.
You think your brother's annoying, let me tell you.
Yeah, I wish my brother was a pig.
The only reason that character, the brother, Eva Mendes' brother, is in the movie as a character is to drive home the theme of brothers.
Yes.
Eva Mendes has a brother. Scarlett Johansson has a brother. Everyone,
the two little girls have a brother, yeah.
Have a dead brother. Everyone has a brother. Some people's brothers are alive, some people's brothers are pigs, but everyone has a brother.
That's the two distinctions we're gonna make
That's
here.
the moral of the story.
So they get the car back, they evade the butcher, and they pick up Granny, and they go to Coyote Mountain. How would you describe Coyote Mountain, Cass?
It's a mountain made out of coyotes.
I say it looks more like a pig than it does a coyote.
There were moments. So yeah, there's like a big like head that like the mountain peak is like a head. There were moments where I was thinking that it was also a pig.
Yeah. It looked more like if someone were to do like a shadow puppet of a dog, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And also like a shadow, it was flat. There is no dimension to that mountain whatsoever.
Well, the mountain set was amazing because they clearly weren't on location. The mountain set they were on looked like the set Captain Kirk was like wrestling Gorn on with. Like it was the fakest fucking looking mountain I've ever seen before I saw the coyote side of it.
Yeah. So they get to they gotta like pour the mustard soup on the pig before the moon goes through the eye of the.
When they said that they were making like a magic soup, did you think they were gonna pour it directly onto the pig?
No, I thought they were gonna feed it to him or something, or maybe dip him in it.
Like a salad? Yeah, that's what soup is. That's what you do with soup. And he's a pig. He eats everything. So why? I don't know.
No, we're just gonna pour this mustard on this poor creature when the moon goes through the eye of the Coyote Mountain just right. All right, what happens is like the butcher does come back at like the last minute.
Ran all the way there.
Yeah, but not only that, like I would have thought like okay, he would have. If you're gonna bring him back, as sort of like a last minute like physical threat to like you would think like, oh, now he's going to interrupt the sequence that will turn him back into a human, but he comes in after it's already in progress. So they already poured the stuff onto the pig. He's already magically turning back into a human. The butcher shows up. Any other movie, he would show up before they do the magical thing. But no, he shows up a little too late to stop it, but not too late enough for them to pour the soup onto him, turning him into an animal.
I thought what happened is that he came in at just the right moment. So he didn't come in early enough to affect anything, but he came in at just the right time where he grabs the pig, and as the pig is turning back into the boy, he turns into a vulture? Is that what he turned into? It was like a big bird. Did he exhibit vulture-like behavior? Is it because he was a butcher and he dealt with carcasses?
Maybe. I mean, for the most of the movie, he's chasing the kids, but like vultures aren't predators; they're scavengers. Like they would. Yeah, but now like this poor guy who was just living his life as a butcher in a small town is now a vulture, and he's got no one to look after.
Yeah, and like he was just like a regular villager. He's probably the only butcher that town has. Yeah. So they're fucked. He has no apprentice or anything. No one's gonna get fresh meat anymore.
Yeah, no one knows what happened to him. No one knows where he is. Like
he just like, hey, what happened to
Joe the butcher?
Joe the butcher. No, it would be Jose the butcher. It's like, hey, what happened to Jose? I don't know. He snapped one day. He chased around like a little white girl with a cleaver, and then we never saw him again.
Well, thank God he's gone. Yeah. And the only people who know about it is the old granny, who probably isn't going to turn him back anyways. Take that secret to her grave.
Yeah, because fuck that guy. Yeah. Wouldn't it have been more ironic if he turned into a pig? Because he was a butcher?
Yeah, it would be.
The vulture thing is confusing.
Yeah, or like an animal that would eat pigs or something. So like now he's an animal threat.
Well, he like an animal. One of the animal. Well, we see him kill a chicken earlier in the movie. Why didn't he turn into a chicken? That would have made more sense than a fucking vulture. But the vulture was inside of him the entire time. He was always a vulture. He just didn't realize it.
Because we all have like an animal spirit in ourselves, or like we can trace animal history.
That's why he always wanted to kill Spider-Man!
So George gets turned back into to a human. He proudly wants a picture taken of himself in his like mustard-stained shirt on top of a rock. And then they have to get back home to America before the parents do. I don't know why like that was such a huge thing, like to get home before the parents do. Like, couldn't the parents have just assumed that they were out?
Well, they have like this whole. I mean, okay, there's a couple of things that we forgot. Like when they're doing like their road trip and everything like that, the parents call the cell phone car.
Right. Yeah.
They call the car cell phone, and in like the
before they call the house.
Did they try the house first? How did they know to reach them in? I mean, like if this was like a modern movie, we wouldn't even question it. They would just call Scarlett Johansson's cell phone. But no, they like, let's talk to the kid. And it wasn't like when they picked up the phone, it wasn't like, hey, Eva Mendes, hey, we're here in France and we tried the house a bunch of times, but we couldn't get a hold of you. Can we talk to your kids, please? No, that appeared to be the first number that they attempted to call.
Yeah, there's no mention of like, oh, we tried you at the house. They didn't even bring up like, what are you doing driving my wife's car? Like, they didn't even mention that.
Yeah, and they make like this big thing where it's like, we need to get home in time, and also like they're at a crossroads, and then they see a cab go by. And then everyone's all like, that was them, they're on their way home. How the hell did they know they were in that cab?
They had to actively be looking for them in the back of cars to know if it was them or not.
But they have like this whole thing where they like, the last like hurdle that this movie says, they're like, this is important, is like the car is all dirty from the road trip. And they appear to wash the car in real time. They've just sped up the footage. So they apparently had all the fucking time in the world. They apparently have an entire hour where they just left the camera on the car and they just had like these 4 actors wash the car in real time.
I gotta say, like, I always imagined if I was ever gonna see a sequence of Scarlett Johansson and Eva Mendes washing a car, it would be a lot sexier than what I just saw. That was one fantasy I was like, oh, that would look really nice. Like, oh no, this is not as hot as party as I thought it would be.
There's a couple of weird sexual moments in this children's film. Like when the brother is a pig, he spies on Eva Mendes in the shower, is one thing.
Yeah, that's all I can really think of.
Well, there was another one. So when the parents are calling from France, there were two weird things about that scene that I wanted to mention. One that you pointed out. Judge Reinhold is apparently they went on like this romantic honeymoon vacation or whatever. Apparently for 2 weeks, all they did was cycle.
Yeah.
Because they keep saying they're like, oh, my butt is like really sore, and then like the weird cab driver's all like, let me tell you about butt trouble. I'm all like, you know what? We could.
That cabbie was awesome. I don't care.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to give that character the satisfaction.
I agree with what you said to me was like, it's way too late in the movie to be introducing a wacky cab side character.
There's like 2 minutes left of the movie and they throw like this wacky cab driver at us. Anyway, but yeah, they're talking on the phone and they're like cycling and everything. What does Judge Reinhold say? They traveled...
Wow. We biked 44 kilograms today.
Is that a joke?
American listeners, can I just tell you how the metric system works here? That is a measurement of weight, kilograms. What he meant to say was kilometers.
Was that the joke? That he got the word wrong? Were we supposed to find that funny?
Like, also in this movie, they had a Mexican guy say Wunderbar, so like... I don't know, man.
But like the other like weird, I guess not sexual thing, but the weird thing is, so there's Judge Reinhold's on the phone and his wife is, like getting her bicycle ready and everything, and then into the shot steps another French cyclist, but he's just at crotch level. Like the camera is like shot. Right in his bulge. And he just goes like, aha, zut alors, I am French, and then he leaves, and so like, there are like 3 uninterrupted seconds of this children's movie we are laser focused on this guy's dick, like
for the ladies.
But I'm looking for dicks in any movie that I watch, so maybe that's just me. Yeah. All right, are we at the end of this?
Yeah, the movie ends with like them having a group hug, and then like Eva Mendes and ScarJo realize that George still has a pig's tail. Haha, wacky ending.
That's not going to come into. I mean, whatever. They can burn that off or something.
Do you have anything else you want to mention?
I don't think I could go over my notes, but no, I think pretty much everything is.
The only thing that I wanted to mention was in that very same sequence, like the bulge sequence.
Yeah,
it ends with Judge Reinhold and his wife like starting to bicker about like the romantic getaway. And I thought the movie would keep going back to that. Like, this movie would have a B-plot of, like, their dissolving marriage over the course of this trip.
I could have done with some more Judge Reinhold in France shenanigans. I would watch an entire movie with just that.
I would rather that than My Brother the Pig.
It would be a better movie than this. Yeah, in all honesty, this wasn't the worst movie we've ever watched on this show, but it certainly had the worst protagonist.
Yes. I'm glad I watched this movie, to be honest, because it was so baffling, like, it was one of the dumbest, like, movies I've ever seen. But, like, if you were to ask me, like, would I recommend this movie? No, like, I think even as, like, by kids' movie standards, and I don't think that's very fair to say, because, like, people work really hard on kids' movies. I think as, like, far as plots goes, there are better kids' movies. This is a very dumb kids movie, and it's a very lazily made kids movie too.
Yeah, I don't think too many people worked all that hard on My Brother the Pig. No, there are countless other pig related children's movies you can watch. Watch Babe, Pig in the City. Watch Gordy. Watch Gordy before you watch this.
Which is like the poor man's Babe. Watch Oliver and... No, I was going to say Oliver and Company. I meant Charlotte's Web.
Easy to get those two confused, yeah. The rest of this podcast will just be us listing pig movies. There's gotta be another one. This really have...
Roadhogs, that fucking movie where, like, John Travolta was, like, a motorcycle dad.
Yeah, there was hogs in that. Sure. All right, cool. Well, I'm glad we ripped the lid off of My Brother the Pig. Now the people know.
You can sleep easy at night.
That's why we do this. That's why we have this thoroughly structured piece of entertainment in your ears.
This is why you people are holding on and keeping it together throughout this quarantine, so that you can hear about us talk about My Brother the Pig.
This is week 3 of quarantine, and if you can't tell by at this point of listening, we're all a little stir crazy now, but but that's okay because you probably are too. So
So join us in our descent into madness together.
this next string of like podcasts we do like this is gonna be a lot like you've played Resident Evil, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, you know how, like, sometimes you find, like, journal entries from, like, other survivors, and it increasingly gets darker and darker, and, like, the last couple of ones are just like, me sad, kill mom, blah!
Yeah. We're in journal entry 2 at this point with our podcast here.
We're already...
Yeah, some, like, you and I are sort of sequestered to our own apartments, but, like, the last episode is going to be just one of us because somehow the other one will have been eaten.
List in the comments below who's more likely to get eaten, Kaz or Jameson. You can't run very very fast right now.
No. Like to kind of peel back the curtains on that, listener. I had a little accident here in my home because, like, I don't know how many accidents occur in the home statistically, but now I'm a statistic. I fractured my talus bone and twisted my ankle coming in from my balcony, so watch yourselves, people. So I'm in a walking boot for a couple of days here, a couple of weeks actually, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling all right, and I don't have to leave or anything. I get groceries delivered.
That sucks, but you gotta see the silver lining in it, and it's all like, hey, the timing like worked out really well for you.
You really picked the right time for this to happen, didn't I?
Well, with that being said, you watching anything right now? You into anything right now?
I was going to replay all the 3D Zelda games, because I used to do that to sort of hype myself up for, like, the release of a new one, but, because I loved, like, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. Skyward Sword sucked, so I kind of stopped after that, and there's too many of those games, and Breath of the Wild is, like, it's an amazing game, but it's too fucking big. So, like, I don't know, I'm probably just going to find, like, some other game that I haven't really, played in a while.
Have you played the new Link's Awakening?
No, I haven't.
I heard that's really good. That looks really nice. That looks really cute.
Yeah, it looks adorable. I might, get into that. So yeah, I may, like, go into that on Zelda. I may just, like, pick up some games that I picked up once and, like, never really gone back to, like Brutal Legend or, like, maybe even one of the Fallouts. I don't know.
I mean, Fallout's very appropriate right now.
Yeah. Oh, and like everyone else in the world, I watched Tiger King.
I haven't seen that yet. You know what? It's too I turn on my social media and the only two things I see are COVID-19 and Tiger King. And honestly, I'm kind of getting sick of both of them. So.
Did you know the Tiger King got COVID-19?
Oh man! Oh, come on. That's cross-promotion right there. I'll watch Tiger King eventually. I don't know. Right now it's just being shoved down my throats, and I don't even want to bother.
I didn't really like it. I don't like seeing animals in misery,
Oh, I didn't know they were in misery.
Well, I mean, they're in captivity.
Does a tiger eat anyone?
I can't divulge that. Allegedly a tiger ate someone.
Then what's the point?
And I buckled and I started watching season 3 of The Crown because I forgot how much I actually like that show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Helen Bonham Carter's in it. She's great. She's great in everything.
Yeah, I agree. She is.
What are you into these days?
Just finished up season 3 of Castlevania.
Oh, yes.
Not as good as season 2, but has some good, lots of filler moments. Episode 9, however, holy shit, it is worth sitting through some of the quieter character building moments for episode 9 of season 3 of Castlevania alone. Episode 9 is 22 minutes of nothing but hardcore sex and violence. It is just people getting, like, massacred and ripped apart in a variety of ways, and then it will immediately cut to two people fucking. Guys fucking girls, guys fucking guys, humans fucking vampires. It's fucking amazing. It's like, I was sitting there, I'm going like, God damn, this is a good episode of television.
Do I need to watch all of Castlevania to watch episode 9 of season 3 of Castlevania?
I'm just saying, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's a bit of a slow build, but it's absolutely worth it. Yeah, and the other thing worth mentioning that I'm watching right now is the animated Harley Quinn TV show.
I watched that. I thought it was pretty funny.
That is one of the funniest fucking things I've seen in a long time. I love funny Batman stuff. Yeah. Like I do. Like this is like the first funny Batman show since Brave and the Bold. They even got the same guy who did the voice of Batman in Brave and the Bold to be the voice of Batman here, so it's kind of like a weird continuation of that.
I liked hearing Jason Alexander in that show.
No, I love that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like it's like the first like hard R Batman thing, right? It's certainly the first Batman related thing I remember where people drop F-bombs.
No, The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, but I mean, like, anime, okay. Well, yeah, the comic, and then they made the cartoon out of the comic. All right, fine. But this is better. It's really good. It's really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That's a Ken J recommendation.
All right. Well, from Kay, we hope you have a good night. And Jay, you got any...
Watch your step. And stay safe, everybody. We're going to get through this together.
Yeah, we are. All right. Well, join us next time. We'll still probably be here for a while. So continue to keep safe, everyone. And hopefully we're all still here.
I think we'll be here.
That's what I say to myself every morning when I wake up now to this new grim reality we're all part of. Hey, play the theme music. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. And then we keep going, and then we awkwardly keep going, and then everyone's just gonna wonder when this episode is gonna actually end.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a mess. I like it.
What are we at? We're at the hour 15 mark, and I think we had a 30-minute discussion before.
We had a good long discussion in the middle there where we did not talk about the movie at all.
Have fun editing this.
I will. I guess I'll hit stop now.
All right, me too. All right, bye everyone.
Bye everyone.